Sorry, didn't see you there. Hold on.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and racers of all kind. Joe Lusk here, coming at you with an iRacing tips video. This time it's going to be for Lanier Speedway in the Pro Late model. These tips are going to apply to any car, but more specifically the setup help is going to apply to the late model. So my first tip is going to be setup, and I'm going to include my setup for this race in the description of this video. And this setup, I'll be honest with you, I didn't create from scratch. I took another person's setup off of iRacing Setup Sync, and I made a couple modifications of my own to it. But really the one big thing that I changed, and I changed this with all my setups, the gear ratio. Now at Lanier, they recommend you run a 5.24 gear. That's with the default setup. But really, I don't like to do that. I like to have my gear ratio pretty high. I'm running 5.55 in this setup, and you might think that that gives the rev limiter, it hits the rev limiter a little bit too early going into the corner. But I don't think so. I mean, think about it. You're going to have to lift anyway, and so hitting the rev limiter is almost like lifting. It really can help you when you go into the corner, deciding when to let off the gas, and it can also give you a lot of speed coming out of the corner. If you have a low gear ratio, like they recommend, you'll be lugging the engine down coming out of the corner, where on a high gear ratio, you'll have that power to get you out of the corner quicker than everybody else. And if you're leading a race and you're trying to defend against somebody else, that can really help. With a fast setup, we'll move on to tip number 2, and that's qualifying. Now, when you're qualifying in iRacing, I always am going to recommend, if your car allows you to adjust fuel, take all that fuel out. That's a lot of extra weight, and you can really gain a lot of tenths on the track, and gain an edge above the competition. And qualifying is the most important part of getting a good finish, in my opinion. In both the races that I've won this week, I've started on the pole and led every lap. On to our next tip, the track. Lanier Speedway has a really interesting point to it, and that is there's an apron that you can race on. And although I don't like to use the apron to get a fast lap, it is critical in the race to use to your advantage. If you're looking at the racetrack from above or even at the track level, you can kind of see a line as you go into the corner. And that line is where the banking of the track stops and the flat apron begins. Just keep in mind, every time you touch that apron, you're losing momentum. If you can keep the car on the banking the entire way around the track, it's going to be a lot faster, but you have to make sure you're as close to that apron as possible. Now you're going to watch this race footage and see that I'm using the apron a lot. And let me tell you, that is exclusively because I'm defending my position. At Lanier, if you're racing for the lead, there's really only one line you're going to use, and that's the very bottom of the track. I used the apron as a way to block the person behind me from getting a run underneath me. And that's a move you can't really do in real life because you don't have a mirror to see behind you. But in iRacing, you've got the mirror, so you better use it. Now you'll see a few times in this video that the guy in second place actually gets a nose underneath me. But I've got an advantage here because I can move up the track off the apron and hit that banking to carry my momentum and be a little bit faster into the next corner while he's committed to using that apron because he's underneath me. Another tip, starts and restarts. If you're on the pole or in the lead during a restart, you need to, I don't want to say cheese the restart, but you kind of need to cheese the restart. When that pace truck pulls into the infield, you need to be on the gas and ready to go. And you can't have any indecisiveness when you go. What that means is don't ease on the throttle. You're going to give the car on the outside an inkling as to when you're going to go if you're easing on the throttle. If you just go from pace speed to full throttle right away, that's going to give you a huge advantage because they're not going to know when you're going to hit that gas all the way down. Now, Lanier isn't exactly known for its multi-groove racing, especially in the late model. But I really do love having a tight circuit because it emphasizes driver ability, knowing when to lift, when to brake, and really, who doesn't love a good short track? Thanks for watching, guys. Like this video, hit that subscribe button because it really encourages me to make more videos. And I really enjoy giving back to the community with some setups and some help, whatever. So be on the lookout for more videos like this in the future. Thanks.